Welcome to the Black Script Storytellers. My name is Kevin Marable, and today our guest is a trailblazing makeup department head and visionary artist in the world of film and television. She's lent her creative genius to major productions like The Color Purple, Wonder Woman 1984, Mayor of Easttown, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Watchmen, We Own This City. Her work has shaped the visual tone of award-winning stories, and now she's leading the makeup department for Spike Lee's highly anticipated new film, Highest to Lowest. We are honored to have with us today Ngozi Olandu Young. Ngozi, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for joining and lending your time and sharing a little bit of insight into the world of makeup in Hollywood. But I like to start every interview with a very simple question, but some might find it a little difficult to answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, that question is, who is Ngozi Olandu Young?
hmm. Ngozi Olandu Young is that is difficult. Let's see, who am I? I am living and breathing. I'm full of experiences. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, a friend, sister, artist, an expressive being. Just to sum all that up, I am a light. I'm going to take that
Yeah, yes,
too.
yes. I love that. And it's always good to learn a little bit more about the person that you're speaking to so that way the world can get a little insight as to who you are as a person as well, not just what it is that you do.
Absolutely. I always say, work is like a small, small, small piece of what I do. Who I am outside of this is what really fills my cup. So I'm
Right.
glad you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Ghazi, let me ask, you are the head for the makeup department on many projects. Um, how did you get into doing makeup for TV and film? Like,
Yeah.
where's your start?
Yeah, my start came from actually out of necessity, being a nice Black girl growing up in Baltimore City. And my parents were immigrants to this country. I knew I had to work from a really young age if there's certain things that I wanted. So I was about making the dollar from a very young age. And it was my freshman year at Morgan State University, and I was working at Nordstrom Rack, which is like the discounted version of Nordstrom. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you should try to go up to the makeup counter. I'm going to go up there." We were all turning 18, and you had to be 18 to work upstairs. So I'm like, "Okay, cool, why not?" And I was just saying yes to anything that sounded like a good way to make money. And I paint. My friend knew we painted and we sang and wrote and danced. I was just a full on artist as a child, very expressive.
Hmm.
And she's like, look, you can paint. I knew nothing about makeup. I actually hated makeup because I had my makeup done for the prom at a makeup counter, and it was a horrible experience. The woman
Oh,
was mean, my makeup was a mess, and I'm like, I would never make anyone feel like this. So, with me getting into the business through my friend working at the makeup counter, I was very intentional about the look that I did for people. I
right.
was known as like a natural makeup artist, which was pretty refreshing at the time because it was like late '90s, early 2000s. And just my hand, I can beat your face without you looking like you had a bunch of makeup on, so you
Right.
weren't looking
Yeah.
like you had a mask.
Yeah.
So with me doing that, I met my mentor, Debbie Young, who also was from Baltimore, and she came in. She was working on a film at the time. I can't remember the name of the film, but she purchased a crazy amount of makeup from me. And again, I
Mm,
was at Morgan State University working there like 34 hours a week, and I had goals to make. And I made my goal for like the month from her one purchase. And I was like, I know this sounds so tacky, but what do you do for a living? And she's like, I'm actually a makeup artist for film and TV. And I'm like, oh, what? Like, you do makeup too? And that just changed my life because I had no idea that you can have this as a profession. And at the time, she was like in her late 40s or early 50s,
right.
and she was an established makeup artist. So I was just like, are you kidding me? It just blew my mind.
Wow. So that basically opens your eyes to the world of professional makeup artistry, but not just, for everyday life, but also for TV and film or the
Exactly.
entertainment.
Exactly. And even on top of that, the structured part of having unions, I had no idea that they're, establishments made to protect artists, and creatives and other people that do this. So it just blew my mind. I had no idea. We didn't have the internet like it is now back then. So,
And I'm curious, I don't know, so please inform me. What is the union that for hair and makeup?
yes,
Uh,
yep, yep. It is called, I'm part of the union. It's IATSE, the International.
oh, okay. I
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes. So there are two unions for hair and makeup. There's one over in the West Coast, Local 706, and there's Local 798 out of New York, which I am a member of.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Nice. So, do you do solely makeup or do you also do hair?
I do some light hair, but in our union, you do have to choose. That's a great question, Kevin. Go ahead. In the union, you have to choose hair or makeup to join. But outside of my union work, like when I'm doing commercials and non-union stuff, I do very light hair. Like I can, brush a little something, roll something up,
Mhm.
cut a
Yeah.
little something, but nothing too heavy.
Okay.
Very light hair.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I prefer me personally, I prefer the nice natural look. I'm not too big on a lot of like heavy makeup or a lot of, styling hair, even though I do like, when hair is styled, in different styles and it looks unique or,
Yeah.
it brings something more out of the talent. I think that that's pretty cool, but that's just my preference. I
Right, you're
know
like,
it's
every
kind of
day I don't want a
on the
full
side.
on. Yeah, like I said, it is expression and an emotion that you're trying to get across. So on
Right.
screen, and there was a time I was like, I'm not, why I used to struggle as an artist starting out. I'm like, why would I mess with what God already created, coming from a spiritual place? But
Right.
it is just you changing the perspective of what someone may see themselves, or you taking them outside of themselves so that they can step into, their character. So I would
Yeah.
say that I know I'm very, very strong in character makeup. That is my specialty.
Now, do you do any like visual effects, hair and makeup, or is it more so just like the standard makeup?
So I do dip into special effects as well. I do prosthetics, and that's one thing I try to tell all of my makeup artists out there. Don't get me wrong. When I first got into this business, I was all about beauty, and then I got into male grooming, and then I got into doing more of the special effects because I didn't want jobs just to pass me by, and also it's very important for me being a female and a female of color. I
Mhm.
wanted to show, like, you know what, I can do gunshot wounds. I can make someone look like an alien. I can do a ball cap. I can do it all. So I just really want to encourage a lot of makeup artists to not. Don't get me wrong. It's great to have a specialty and what your thing is, but it is always amazing, an amazing thing just to touch on a little bit of diversity on the craft that you do.
Right. Broaden your horizons,
Exactly.
and yeah, and be readily available depending on what it is that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So true.
Uh,
I mean, and on that note, with saying that as well, I also want to say that it doesn't, I'm just teaching myself things with literally like oodles and noodles and what have you to make things that look like guts or intestines or brain, like
mhm.
because I know I didn't have the access to be able to order a lot of things from these big, studio, suppliers or what have you. So you can really get creative with it.
Let's just go into the formal congratulations at least, of landing the department head for highest to lowest. It's an amazing accomplishment, and I know you're super excited about all that. I can't wait to see the film and also see your work on screen. So that'll be amazing.
Yeah, listen, thank you so much. I am so blessed to be a part of something so huge, and it's something that's magnitude. It was truly an answer prayer.
Yeah.
Just spiking his work, and it got me to love cinema, and love seeing Black people in cinema. So it was definitely truly an answer prayer to work on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. And you've also worked on other TV shows and films, everything from superhero blockbusters like Wonder Woman 1984, to intimate dramas like Really Love. How do you adapt your process across diverse genres? go from one makeup style to the next. And you also spoke on this a little bit earlier, but if you can go into a little more detail.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely go into more detail. And with the fun thing, the great thing that I love about what we do as makeup artists in film and television is that you know my colleagues and I we joke because it's like 1 minute you can be the department head, next minute you can be in background doing doing certain things for like people that may go on the screen, people that may not be seen.
Oh,
So it is so with that with saying that with what you said with how me putting like my personal spin to what I do as a department head or a department or I would just say even a makeup designer, you are able to collaborate with the directors, actors, producers, what have you, on the look that you want to portray for your character for the entire film. And
mm,
then you can take that and you're able to tell your key makeup artist, your third, and the rest of the department how you want things executed. So for something like Wonder Woman, we were in background. It was a huge, huge period scene, 1980s.
mhm,
And there were certain directions that we had from Mindy Hall, who was our makeup department head at the time, of certain looks and things that she wanted executed. So it's like, it wasn't about my personal touch. It's just what was needed for the time period that was already set. But something like highest to lowest, really love High
mm,
Flying Bird with Steven Soderbergh, that I was the makeup department head. I'm like, hey, you guys, we are working with people of color, and how I like to see skin adds dimension to us.
yes,
We don't have to do a whole bunch of this. And thank God we had amazing people who were lighting, so it makes my job a lot easier as well. So you don't have to really, shade and contour and do as much and highlight, because
yeah,
it's natural light. Like, we're working with the best in the business. So it makes my job definitely a lot easier. And it also depends on what the director wants to see at the end of the day. He might see something, be like, no, I don't like that lip on her. Can you switch that up? Or, this guy, can you make his brows a little furrier? Like, he's supposed to have an attitude. You want him to look a certain
right,
way on
yeah,
screen. So it's a full collaboration. So I'm not saying that you always have to implement your own style and things to do it. Yes, it's coming from you, but at the same time, you may have to absorb what you might think is needed versus what the director might want, or even what an actor might want. So it's like literally you're collaborating with so many different.
yeah, absolutely. And in a roundabout way, I'm gonna use a different term. It may not necessarily be used in TV and film, but it to me it sounds like being a department head is kind of like being a project manager,
Yeah,
where you
yeah, you're right.
oversee everything, and you report back to the people who are bringing the project together, and you also enlist people to handle certain parts of um, certain tasks.
Yeah, and also there are also certain jobs that are all different because there are some directors who don't want to even think about the makeup. They're like, look, you take it, you do whatever you think,
Really?
and that's that. But then it depends if they're really hands on or not. But I mean, every single job is different. So you just have to remember to be flexible, open minded, and I know people are like, hey, don't take things personal in this business. You don't take abuse either. You know what I mean? So yes, you don't take these personal. If someone's like, "Hey, I don't like what you did," yes, don't take that personal. You need to detach as an artist. It's not about you. It's about the vision,
Right.
the overall vision. And I feel like a lot of us make it, and just in this day and time, I was just talking about this. It's like, hey, me. It's all about me, and it's like actually it's a collaborative effort.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not
Yes.
just about you. You're
Uh,
playing a part in something that's huge. So,
mhm.
and that's the beauty in it. I love when I go on sets and things are running like a well-oiled machine. I'm like, yes, it just all comes together,
Mhm.
so it's a magical process.
Yeah, and it makes for a good environment too, especially when
Yes.
everybody's open and not necessarily, giving you pushback in a way, or not hearing you or listening to you, or taking in any of your input. Um, and I can imagine how that can be difficult too, especially with doing makeup for people of color. And let's just say maybe they have a certain style of lighting that might not help with the look of things, according to your makeup. Are you able to share your input and say, with with the lighting style or how they're doing their lighting? Are you able to make those adjustments, or you kind of have to go project by project?
Yeah, I do think it is project by project, but there have been many of times that I have, again, I feel like yes, I am in this business as makeup artist, but also as an advocate. If there's, and I know people may feel some kind of way about this. I really, don't care. But if I'm reading something and if it doesn't sound like a black woman that they're trying to portray, and I'll ask questions like, well, what exactly? Why are you, because I do want to know more about the character because it helps me from a makeup artist standpoint and to
Right.
tell the full story to be a part of that. But it's just like, I wouldn't talk, oh, you're saying the person, reflects, someone like me. Oh, I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't say that. I
Right.
wouldn't, whatever. It's just like to help them along. And it's been, thank God, I've been in this business for 25 years, and thank God, it hasn't been like a huge beef or anything. People don't take things personal. I mean, down to even clothing and just like, I mean, but I've been approached as well, like, hey, do you think you would wear something like this? Or, someone, who's in their 40s and a black woman and a
Right.
single mama, whatever the thing might be. So, I mean, that's a real thing. And I also think that's why it's important for, us to continue to tell our stories as well. So things like that,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, don't
Yeah.
have to happen, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, yes. And, but there has also been times, that some people, they do speak up and it's like, hey, like, you don't even know what we're doing. Like we're lighting this like this for a certain reason. But it's one thing if you're lighting and if my person looks ashy
Mhm.
or, but it's like, hey, if they're supposed to look sick, then that's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? But if they're supposed to be radiant and what have you and vibrant, it's like, that's not coming out right like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's one of the perks. I feel confident to say that if I see something that doesn't look right, I've been in this for 25 years, but someone who's been in it for a year or two, you go up to somebody talking about, yeah, that don't look right. It's like, okay,
Right.
and,
They'll look
and
at you like, "Who are you?"
exactly. And I'm not knocking it. Some people they have their own truth, but you also have to know where to draw the line in there. So,
Right.
they have to know that someone can go into their department and be like if we're doing that, here we go. But that's just the real like I said, thinking this that hasn't happened, and I definitely am really intentional and prayerful with things that I say, and it's all for positive things. And I don't come in like a know-it-all at all,
Yeah.
because you have a lot of people in this business who think that they are know-it-alls. So, but I learn something new every single time I'm on set, every time.
Right. Yeah. And it's always good to remain the student, Never can learn enough, or feel like you know it all, because it's always changing, it's always evolving.
Always.
And there's always new techniques to learn, new makeup styles, new types of makeup to purchase. Do you stick to the same type of makeup or the same brands, or do you allow yourself to play and buy new products and try them out, test them out, and see how things work? Or is that not a safe thing to do in an ongoing production?
You're so funny. Yes, I have a few of my staples. Like, I can say some things like, no matter what, I'm gonna always have like an emergency little palette of RCMA, which is like old Hollywood, like Vincent Kehoe back in the day
Mhm.
makeup. That the colors are just so rich,
Mhm.
and the ingredients that they use are good for people who are like it's hyperallergenic and things like that. I do have my staples, but at the end of the day, I'm a product junkie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know what's out, what's new. I'm like, oh, y'all use that on this? Oh, somebody used that. Oh, what y'all do on that film? You know what I mean? I'm in there with my colleagues, like, okay, so because the whole thing is this, and this is my personal touch. I like to do, although I love my jam is definitely realistic, beautiful, seamless makeup. That is like my thing.
Right.
And but the durability with our hours, I don't want to have to keep touching up my actor
Mhm.
and interrupting what they might be doing all the time. Like durability is a lot for me. So I'm always looking at what can last on my actress or actor that doesn't irritate their skin, that makes my job easier, and that they're able to focus on what they got to do. It's not a lot of fuss. I
Right.
got to go in and doing a bunch of stuff, with them because things are sliding all over the place. Like it's one thing if they're crying during the scene, they have to go in and clean up their tears, or if they have to make them cry, or for making them bloody and redoing the blood. That's one thing. But just, foundation sliding off the face just because I bought it because, I want to stick to it from 20 years ago.
Right.
not my thing. So I'm always, definitely open to new products and new ways of doing things. I feel like that's what keeps me going as well.
I feel like this is also a subject, or maybe it's not talked about enough. So there's not a lot of people who know or realize. But men oftentimes get makeup as well, and it may just be a light touch. It may just be certain. I don't know all the products, so I don't want to go into detail on the product side. But yeah, men also get makeup as well. Can you talk a little bit about as to why they get makeup for on camera?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, depending on their character, like the way the light might hit, you might want to chisel out their features a little bit more. You may
Mhm.
want to make them look a little, a little cleaner, a little healthier, smoother, or you might want to do the opposite. I love breaking people down too. It's like, I've done things where I've put, certain colors of concealer on like guys' lips to make them look like they're like dehydrated, or you know what I mean, or they maybe using a certain kind of drug, or things like the things that pale them out, women as well. So
Mhm.
it just depends on the project. It can be things from, I can put foundation again over men and women over their whole face,
Right.
do a little bit of concealer here, depending on the character. I might want their little freckle to show. I might
Mhm.
want their eye bag to show, depending on what they do. And then we may start off the character with like, though they're tired and haggard. Then let's say that they got a new job and they have a love interest now and they're taking care of themselves. I start to cover up their natural eye bag to make them look
Mhm.
brighter and more, more aware. I know, like for Really Love, what we did for Kofi and Angel Christy Williams, like she was very intentional about both characters when they fall in love, about them looking so warm and vibrant.
Mhm.
And she was like, I want them to look warm and just like, it's popping off the screen, like their
Yeah.
skin is just
Those like
boom.
rich tones.
Exactly. It was so rich. And then when they were starting to, kind of separate, have tension, we
Mhm.
cooled it all down. Like
Right.
you wouldn't see as much sheen on his face for dimension. You know what I mean? Like so, say same thing with Yutha. Like with Yutha, we would just, like she would have cooler eyeshadows on. Like I mean, I was so in love with the detail that Angel took with that film. I was just like, oh my God, even it wasn't just one department. You saw it in the clothes and everything else. Like she
Yeah.
was just so intentional about telling a story through every single piece that the audience would see. So it was great.
Mhm. Now, on films that have certain color theory, whether it's they film and they shoot or they don't shoot everything this way, but when they are in the editing process, are you a part of that at all in the makeup department, when choosing colors for the actors, that go along with the color scheme of the film or the color theory of the film?
That's a great question. I'm not there for that part
Okay.
of it. We're there mainly for the prep of it. So, the director may say, "Hey, we plan on doing this, in post production. So I need you to do this up front. Or what do you think is the best way to convey this look that we might want to do in the editing room?" But as far as being there post, no, I'm not there. But with the way technology is changing,
Right. Yeah.
who knows? Who knows?
Okay. And also, just to your point, as far as talking to the director, do you have conversations prior to production with the director? Do you guys sit down and specify this is what I want for the directors that want to know or want to be specific? Do you have any of those initial meetings, or is it kind of when you show up on set, here's what I'm looking for?
But it is usually prior meetings with a lot of products that I've done in the past, like and specifically for the color purple. I was the key makeup artist in our department head, Carol Rashid. She was very intentional about her and I being in every single meeting and meeting with Blitz, who is an amazing director,
Yes. Uh,
all the time. Like he was just so clear with his vision, especially with makeup and hair. It was so refreshing to see. I'll say he was like full all around artist anyway. So just the fact that he was so detailed and knew how to communicate, it was amazing. So I would say I know with the color purple, we met a lot with
mhm.
the prepping of that. We had like over a 40-year span to have, these actors, these, look like, okay, they were in their 20s,
Right.
30s, 40s, 50s,
Yeah.
60s, and then so to do it in the most natural, realistic way. So I know he was so intentional about that. And there were a lot of meetings beforehand. But again, there are a lot of projects that aren't like that at all. But something as big as The Color Purple, I would hope
Yes.
that we would meet a lot, and thank God we did. So yeah.
Yeah. That's really dope. That's really dope. Um, what kind of qualities do you think make a strong department head in the industry?
Mm, that's a great question. I feel like the qualities that I like to possess, because I've worked with a few department heads who stand out, who weren't so great, and I learned from them as well. Kind of like what I was saying, a lot of department heads who make it about them.
Mhm.
That is definitely something that's like, yo, like you got to take yourself out the equation. Like I get, you're running everything, but at the end of the day, we're a team, and there are just some people who, don't work that way. And it's like, hey, if I don't know how you can work in this business and not be a team player. Like that's just crazy to me. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that one quality is to be able to collaborate. Another is to be able to communicate. And the third, I would definitely say, and be able to take criticism. To be in this business, you have got to have a lot of thick skin, and
Yes.
it can come from anybody, not just the directors. It could be actors, anything, and it's just like, okay, cool. If you don't like something, let's work it out. Let's do this, or make sure. And also another thing is you really have to educate yourself on a lot of different genres as well, and do your research. Just continue to be curious as a department head as well, and not feel like you know everything and you've made it and you're stuck. That can turn out not so good. I've seen that as well when people like, oh yeah, I'm just chilling, I'm just doing what I do, and I hire everybody else to do all the work because I've made it, I'm done. You just got to treat people good and how you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
Um, and that's down to anybody. Like there's some department heads that are just awful to their people, awful to PAs, and just want to kiss the behinds of the directors and people who think they can get them the next job. And it's like, that's not, you're like, okay, you think that's going to last. Good luck to
Right.
you.
You're gonna build a reputation, it may not happen within that project, but over time, people talk, and you're gonna
They
build a reputation that is going to, um, supersede you, and
do.
everybody's gonna know that you're difficult to work with, or that
Yeah.
you're trouble, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, you're right. And I will say this, I have come in again, I've been in this for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So I've come in contact with certain people where you do kind of meet them where they are in life, and
Right.
people, they do change. You know what I mean? And but it's almost like, you don't really want to burn your bridges or have a little riff of things that happen, because people also remember that too. So
Yes.
I know I've always, my family and friends, they call me like the soother or the healer in a way, because I just like to, I love feeling good. I like when other people feel good, but if other people aren't feeling good, I had to also learn like that's not my issue or my problem, because I didn't, do anything. But at the same time, I'm not, you come in contact with a lot of different energies. So you have to protect yourself, find your way to, deal and balance with all those energies. I'll
Mhm.
say that that's a very important characteristic in this business, because when you're constantly supporting people, sometimes people can abuse that. So that's something else that I would want to say is a great quality to have, just how to balance, how to handle certain energies. So how you internalize things, how you react to certain things, your health, you taking care of you as well, because you can get lost in this business
Yeah.
as well. So there's so many. Look, I can go on for days, so I'm going to stop right there. I'm talking too much.
No, you're not talking too much. You're actually giving a lot of great. There's a lot of great pointers that you're dropping. A lot of gems. Hopefully, I'm asking all the right questions.
You are.
Um, Now, you don't have to go into full detail here because I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it. But do you have like a step by step process? What do you start with?
Again, it depending on the job, on the type of work. Like again, for any period film
Well,
that I
I guess
do.
I guess let's say if you're just doing like a natural beat face.
Okay, so now is it period? Is it contemporary? Is it natural beat like 1800s? Are we talking
Sure, let's go with that. Let's go with that.
so funny. So with something like that, I would definitely I know don't get me wrong, the internet is cool and everything. It's great, but I would go back to getting like real authentic books that have, photos and images of that time as well.
Yeah, yeah,
That would be my research. Yes, I don't get me wrong, I do look on the internet, but you can post anything and say 1800s, and I shot it, 2 weeks ago,
yeah.
and just posted it up there, and it'll come up. So you just really have to filter through what you find online.
Right.
But I go to the good old library, like an old
That's
lady.
good. As you're saying it, I didn't even think of that. The research that you have to go through just to find, what the looks look like at that
Yeah,
time. In my head, I'm only thinking on the fashion side of what they were wearing. But I'm nowhere in my mind was I thinking what kind of makeup were they wearing? How much were they applying?
yeah. And and
How
and
were they
and what
wearing?
region? Yeah,
Right,
and what region in the country were they? Because the things that weren't available, over here in the Northeast, and if you're in the Midwest and Chicago, you may have had something else available at those times, or you
right.
may be holding on to, looks that were 1990, I mean 1790, and now it's 1812.
Mm,
So things change. So it's just like you have to kind of do the pre-research of the time that you're looking at what was done beforehand and what's done after. So that's why I try to do the bookend. So if I'm shooting something that is, like we said, 1800s, I would look in the 1700s as well, and
mm,
after that, just for me, I just need the
right,
complete picture to see. Oh, there was a change here, or oh, this war happened, therefore they didn't have access to this. Like it all tells the story. It's not just like, all right, this looks like that picture and done. I like to be a historian as well because it just helps me with my characters.
right. Yeah, yeah. And it makes it more authentic.
It does that, and that's what I shoot for, authenticity. Yep.
Yes, yes. Um, do you have any makeup artists that you aspire to be like or that have
Hmm.
influenced you?
See, who do I that's a good question. I know coming up in this in this business before it was film and TV, I used to love. I mean, I still do love him. Love me some Sam Fine. I was like obsessed with
Yeah.
how he made African American women look. I just was like, oh my goodness, it was like magical. Magical. It was beautiful,
Mhm.
and just his intention and precision with application. That he definitely made me fall in love with makeup for black folk. I just, I couldn't get enough of that at the time. And then coming into film and television, my wonderful mother-in-law, she has such an amazing influence on me. Just the way how I would see her just working more than just the gift of makeup.
Mhm.
She was there as like the therapist, the coach.
Right.
She was also
Everything.
the advocate as
Yeah.
well. So, I feel like it was such a blessing for me to watch. Like I don't remember not one time of her showing me how to do, okay, you sit down and you do this here and you do that. I don't even remember that. I remember her being like, look, when this happens, I do this because if da da da, like it was that kind of coaching beyond the makeup.
Right.
So
Real
she
life
definitely,
situations.
yes, with certain situations, and
Mhm.
thank God I had her because I showed up, with another kind of confidence that I wouldn't have had getting to this business at the age of 19 and 20 years old.
Yeah.
Like, you just show up differently, and I was just like, okay, like I can see through because the whole thing is that sometimes in this business you get so distracted with what's in front of you and what's seen you
Mhm.
don't even see the depth or look you can't look behind it so you can get fooled by that so with her coaching and of course me who I am spiritually and things from my parents I was able to see and I can be like like we ain't doing that like this
Yeah.
is this is what's going on so you can see right through the BS of things as well so I would say as far as makeup those two definitely I'm like trying to think of someone who I aspire to be like I just want to be the best artist, the best form of self-expression that I am here to be. Let's say that.
25 years in the game, you definitely one of the best.
Listen, I still it don't it feels like I still got a lot of work to do because that's the thing in our business. It's like you are literally working brick by brick to make something where people are like, oh, like, yeah, I'm getting noticed after 25 years. Do you know how many years that, things weren't working out or things, but people tell me all the time, like, girl, you working all the time. I'm like, do you know how many years I wasn't working?
Yeah,
Like, let's be real. Like,
right.
it is a patient business for
Mm,
you to be in, and it just takes a lot of tenacity and just to be consistent. And I know that there's so many people that are so scared and fearful of, oh no, AI and all this is happening. And it's like, okay, guess what did we do, before that when digital stuff
exactly.
came? And what, it's just like I just refuse to be afraid and fearful of all of that. So I'm like, I'm just like, God's got me.
Right. And we're going through it anyway. It's inevitable. So you might
Yep.
as well adapt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, if you're not gonna adapt, you can find something else to do. There's
right,
there's always a way. That's one thing that's always in my mind. It's okay, it's always a way. It's always working out for me. So
right. Absolutely.
mhm.
That's the mindset you always have to keep,
Yeah,
regardless of what
yeah,
changes around you.
exactly.
Yeah. Um, let's stay on family or parents for a second. What did how did they feel, or what did they say to you when they found out that you were actually going to be working in Hollywood and literally doing hair and makeup for a myriad of celebrities? I'm pretty sure they're like, tell Oprah I said hi, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Listen, I wish they were like you got my whole side teeth showing the gums laughing. I'm laughing so hard because my African parents, my Nigerian parents were like, you want to do what?
Oh,
What
really?
is that?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't come to this country for you to color on screen, whatever the hell you want to do. They were like, you gonna be broke. Like, no. So
Man.
that was it took I don't want to say it took a lot to convince them, but when they met my mother-in-law and saw like, oh, like she's a grown woman, she has a family, and she's,
Mhm.
she's been doing this for 30 years. Like they were like, okay, like we might do it, we might be okay with this. But I would say when I first started, they were definitely scared and fearful because they were my mom, both my parents are doctors.
Right.
So
Yeah.
for me to show up, like, hey, I want to do film and TV makeup and I'm gonna leave my job doing this. And I'm like, and that was the deal that they said to me while I was at Morgan, because I was gonna drop out of school.
Mm,
My dad had a business and he was a psychologist
mhm.
and had he was doing like counseling for drug and alcohol abuse, and he's like, look, I want you to take over the business. And I'm like, this is a lot for me in my little heart. I can't do this. Like I'm gonna pray for you and all your patients, but I'm not built to do that. It was
Yeah.
a lot for me. So he, when I told him, look, I want to do film and TV, he was like, whatever you do, you need to finish college. Like, I don't care what you do, just have a degree. So that was the deal. So after I got my degree, they were like, okay, you do whatever. And I mean, when I got my first Emmy nomination,
Wow.
um, I think that's when they were like, oh, okay, like she all right.
Yeah. She's winning awards now. Like,
Exactly.
I can say
And
I got my daughter's award winning.
listen, but can I tell you that was one of my reasons why I kept my maiden name because I wanted to show like
Yes.
Ngozi Olandu Young, like an immigrant, like people see my name, they're like, oh, you're a Nigerian. I'm like, yeah, I am. I just
Yes.
wanted to show like because I didn't know another Nigerian in the arts
Yeah. And
doing
that's
makeup
important.
on
That's
TV.
that's
Yeah.
definitely important. To show up for representation, not only for, the Black culture, but also, uh, you know, African culture,
Yep.
other nationalities, other parts of the world, where, there may be few and far in between, in this business.
Yep.
So it's very important to show up, and have representation there, and also, um, you know, bring those accolades back and show that if I can do it, you can do it as well. Um,
You
you
speaking my language, Captain. Speaking my language. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, as far as where you are currently in your um, space and place in life, and where you're at as far as your title and the responsibility you hold. Are you at a place where you are actively looking to give back to the next generation of makeup artists, or young girls who are looking to do makeup, or boys that are looking to do makeup, hair and makeup, in this industry? And if so, how are you actively doing that?
Yes, I am. There are plenty of times that I give my time speaking to students, coaching makeup artists who are up and coming as well. I have a program where I did, well, I still do it, but not as much because of work, but mentorship
Hmm.
that I would, have makeup artists come in who want to get into the business. And then, like I'm literally on call as like emergency coach for them as well. I love that. That is a great thing. But at the same time, I love, 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 love seeing like young kids who want to come up and like, I want to do film. I want to be a makeup artist or film and TV like you. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, like here we go. Just it is so beautiful, so refreshing because they're just so open to
Right.
it's a great thing to watch just to see how you just have a fresh new set of eyes who have no influences,
Right.
and just how they grow as artists. I've done that as well.
Yeah.
And especially in a lot more in the city of Baltimore, that my heart just, I love my Baltimore babies here. So, I do a lot of things and workshops and such, on a yearly basis. So that's something very important to me to give back because at the time when I was coming up, I really didn't have that. So, we really just want to provide access when we make it. That's the definition of success for me is me being able to provide access.
Right. Right. And not only that, you may not necessarily see it for yourself, because you're actively in it, but you're really opening a door or widening the door and opening a world of possibility to the next generation, these, the youth that might have thought that this might not have been a path, a career path,
Yeah.
and you didn't think it was going to be a career path, and your parents didn't think it was a um, a suitable career path, but you forged your way and you made it to where you're at today. Um, and I think oftentimes when we're in the middle of doing what it is that we're doing, we don't take the time to reflect and actually see really what it is that we're doing for people who look up to us or look up to what we're aspiring to do, and they're also actively aspiring to do it as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
No.
very important. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm grateful to God. To God be the glory, as they say up in the church. It's like it is definitely been a blessing. I would have never known if you would have told me like back in college. I always knew that I wasn't going to have a regular 9 to 5. Like everyone was like, I was a marketing major, so everyone was going to interviews for like Pfizer and pharmaceutical companies and all these things and Black and Decker even, and I just was like, I'm not gonna do any of those interviews. I just had something inside of me was like, nah, that's not for me. And I was just working at the counter. I still wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna definitely do makeup. I
Right.
just was like, nah, I'm not gonna have a regular 9 to 5. There's something else there creatively that I could do. But you have your desire and you pray about it, you focus, you do whatever you got to do, meditate on it, you tell other people your intentions, and the universe will make a way for you.
Yeah.
You just gotta
Yes. Absolutely. Speak it
yeah,
into existence
yeah,
and
yeah.
believe it even when it seems impossible.
Listen. You be believing it and crying like, "What's going on?" I still believe.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, we all go through it. We all go through it for sure.
not easy. And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, it was an amazing ride, and oh, it was like it's hard. It
Mm.
is hard. It is hard to be in this business, in no matter what capacity. It is a hard thing to do. But if you love it enough, if you want to stick with it enough, and if the dream is big enough, you can make it. Simple as that.
Yes. Yes. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, Ghazi, what's next for you?
Good question. What is next for me? I have, as far as career wise, I don't have anything definitely in stone. No ink has dried on anything yet.
Okay.
I'm really just so happy to be able to like woosah and organize my thoughts. Things have been really crazy and was back to back since before COVID.
Hmm.
So I'm grateful for a little bit of some breathing time, and I know I don't say that to rub anything in anyone's face because I know work is really dry right now, especially for a lot of a lot of us in this business, and
Yeah.
I'm really just looking forward to how to adapt and change to the the different times. So
Right.
again, I just want to say my heart goes out to everybody, all of us in this business, because it's tough right now for most of us.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really looking forward to that breakthrough. I know it's coming.
It's coming.
It
It's
is.
already on its way. It's
It
coming.
is. It is.
Yes. And you're speaking it into existence. It's already in existence, but you're speaking truth to power as you're saying it. So yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I like to give my guests the final word, whether that be a piece of advice, words of encouragement, or a quote to live by. You can say one of the three, or you can say all three. It's up to you.
Where's some encouragement quote to live by? Oh goodness. Mm, I'm trying to think of a good one. um, I'll leave it. I'll leave it here. Just that things are always working out for you, even when it hurts. I'll
Right.
say that.
Yes. Things are, yeah, absolutely. Things are working out for you, even when it hurts, even when it seems hard.
Yep.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes
Always.
when you're in the middle of the storm, all you can see is the storm, but the
Yep.
storm shall pass. This too shall pass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, this was an amazing conversation. I truly, truly appreciate your time, your expertise, all the gems you dropped during this interview. And I'm excited to see your work in highest to lowest and, all the other projects that you've been a part of. And if there's anything that I can do to help, you know, um, I would love to, give you more exposure and champion you in any way
Thank
possible.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. You're such a breeze, easy to talk to. I feel like I'm talking to an old homie. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, we go back.
Right.
Your questions, everything, the way everything flowed. You're gifted, and I see why you're so successful in your platform. And all the best to you. We need you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Well, Ngozi Olandu Young.
Thank you so much.